Welcome to the collective and the beginning of all the noises of summer. Everyone's trying to do their home repairs and of course sawing things, drilling things, using all sorts of machines. But I want to talk to you about my Soilless Green system, the outdoor hydroponic system. I know I touched on it in previous videos, but I wanted to, because I'm bringing it online now, so I was thinking it would be fun to show you guys what is going on here and the systems involved, and go over really quick what the heck's going on as I put it together. So, as you can see, this is a Dutch bucket hydroponic system, and here's my 100-gallon tank. Here is what I swear by, a trimeter. It gives you pH, nutrient level, and temperature, and I put it in this enclosure here, and it has a piece of glass, you know, that I made into a junction box so I can see the display. I use a Titan controls box, and I set it for, you know, about once an hour, and I run it for a minute or so. And so I use that, and then I can turn it off at night. There's a photo cell that lets you do that so that you don't have to run it 24 hours, but you know, it's not going to hurt. And you know, I've done some wiring so that I can get the electric power from the pump here. And this is the outlet that goes down into the other junction box that controls the, you know, it's just a plug-in for the sump pump that you're hearing now, which is pumping the water into here. And if we open this, you can see that it is full of water. And you can see this, this is at a 5-gallon paint strainer. The nylon cloth, it is wrapped around a hose in here, and that is acting as my filter. And I put a let's see if I have it. I do. Cool. What I have done here is I've taken, you know, a hanging basket coconut fiber, rolled it a bit, and then it is basically, the pipe is hanging in here and just pouring into this, which is contained in that sack, because I don't want any large debris to go back into my pump because of the injectors, and I will show you those now. This is an example of a 4-gallon bucket. It has 2 injectors. You can see just hose, and I cannot see because of the sun, so I hope I'm pointing it right. Okay, and there's 2 of them per container, and it's in a heavier hose that I'll show you here. This is that plastic hose that you can inject, you know, these other, this is just all for like drip irrigation, I guess. So it's an 1/8, and you just poke holes in there, and because I mucked with it, of course, I may have to shove them in because it's, you know, it's been all season, and this is where I find leaks. But so you get these, I put 2 in, you can put 1 in if you want to risk. And then I have the you know, them coming in here, and I put a 360 and you'll see it's green, and it will just spray the water, distribute the water out. So I have 2 of these nozzles that just spray 360 degrees water, so it just wets everything. Now when I get things running, it's cute. So in here is big chunky perlite, and that's all it is, and I don't even bother recycling. I used to take it out and sterilize it and put you know, put it in there and process it and everything, but now I don't even do that really anymore. I just have this, and I use the paint strainer, 4 gallons each. For this, you could probably use something else. If you have any ideas, I'd love to know. And just fill it up with perlite, and then I clean it out. Like after I pull the plants out, I'll take the roots out and strain it and then put it back, but I don't do much else with it. And so of course there's a hole in the bottom, and the grommets I usually replace once a year because they dry crack, and you could probably put Vaseline around that to keep them from doing that in the sun. But of course, a 1/4, or this is a 1/2 inch pipe, goes into here, and you don't have to have a thin pipe like this. You can have a big pipe and just have it dump water in, which I probably am going back to, because this means that roots, depending on the plant, like tomatoes or squash, are going to get all jammed up in here and then flood this thing with water, and it is a royal pain in the butt to get out. Now let me show you what's inside here. Now, the trick here is also a cool thing that I do. There we go. You can see that there is a downspout. It's just down, an angle down. And that helps keep the roots down a little bit and makes it a little harder. And there's always going to be like an inch or so of water in here regardless, so that your plants, when they finally root down there, are not going to go crazy and die of thirst if there's some problem with your irrigation system or there's a stoppage. You'll also find that when the pump is on, now let me show you, and let me take a break for a second. Okay, the pump. The pump is below the outlet for my system. You can see that there's a valve that shuts off the water flow, and that is higher than the pump. And what I'm finding, and I think it's relevant here, is that when the pump is on, it's going to inject stuff, but when it's off, sometimes because of this, how this is set, you can benefit from a siphoning effect, so that even with the pump off, it still drips water through all of these injectors. And so you still get water, and even if something failed, as long as your pump's primed, it's going to continue dropping water in here. So I thought that was pretty cool. So right now you're hearing the sump pump because I just did a test run. But let's turn it on again and I'll show you. It's really cool. Actually, let's go to the sump pump. I think that would be fun. So I'm going to move this over. See, in case it leaks, it'll just leak on here and then go back in the sump pump. Let me do this for you. So I had the pump, So I had the pump running for 2 minutes, and you can see that it's still draining the water from the buckets into the sump pump, and it's storing the water up into the tank. And hopefully I've cleaned the system where it's not getting junk and debris in here. But anyway, let's go back to putting this together. So you guys have wanted to have me do more subject-based stuff instead of like, I'll probably do a few anyway where I just tour the garden or give you a small update. But I think topics are what are more important to you guys too. So of course this is how I put together my hydroponic system for the season. I've been doing this one since 2012. So this thing's been in operation for several years. So of course I'm going to plug in the pump. You can hear it turn on. It's going to inject stuff. You want to make sure that all of the barrels, all the buckets are getting injected, having stuff going in. As you can tell, the injectors are working really well. And the nozzles on here, I just want to make sure there's no blockages and I can clear them. I'm just making sure that, both of them are working and all of them. There we go, the pump's gone. And you can still see that it's still, the pump is not working anymore. And you can still see it dripping water in here. Now I use a set of injectors that I'll show you that have a twist valve on it to let the pressure not as much right at the head of the pump, so that the water can be distributed evenly at the far end of this loop, because this loop wraps all around and goes in here into the pump. So it terminates here with duct tape, so it stops. There's no loop, it just does that, and then that helps create the pressure to push the water through here. So that's pretty cool. So now we have our timer. Our pump will inject, drain, and then the sump will work. Now let's hook up some diagnostics, the meters. Now guys, I know it sucks about the meter. It's like $200 and some for this guy. Turn the camera. And but I swear by these. I love these all. And once you buy them, then you're good. You want to make sure that your devices, your sensors and all. Now I have to buy these. These are like $70, $80 each. And I do have to buy them. Sometimes you can calibrate them, but they need to be submerged constantly. But I'm pretty mean with them in the winter. It just gets over time. You can set the calibration screws here and they give you some solution. But, I just buy a new meter. And then I verify it with, checking the pH level myself manually like you would with aquarium. And all of that. Just to make sure that you're getting an accurate pH level. So what I normally do is, let's see, I'm going to embarrass myself, but I will plug up this guy and I'll show you. So this is the stuff that makes it so expensive. It's $80. You can buy them on Amazon. This is for the pH probe. And so this is what we use. It's in a solution. So you just unscrew that. The bulb has to stay wet or it won't work. So I have a hole in my tank that I put the temperature probe and this in, and it just stays in the tank, and it just sits there. So I attached this to it too. I find that these are good for like a year, maybe 2. And like I said, you could calibrate them and do all that and twist the screws on there, but I either get new ones, which makes things expensive. If you have any other information on it, then that works out too. It does a little coax cable, so and it goes in there. So let me attach the meter. So there we go. I took the cap off of the tube, and then here's the bulb. Stick the bulb in my device, and away it goes. And we feed it through so that it has a nice journey in there. And that's how I set it. And then of course I plug it into the meter. Like that. The meter will sit like this so that I can see it from the outside. You remember I had that clear case. And so now I just got to plug the meter in. So here's the meter. The temperature is a little off and the pH level is off, but I will go and set all that. Make sure everything's calibrated down. So I'll put this all together and then we'll have our setup. So there we go. We now have a system that meters our pH, nutrient level, and our temperature. Also, we have the device that helps us, the Apollo 2, that times every hour. It'll throw a minute's worth of pump action, and it will go into the injectors. And then all the water will return into the drain system that you see, into the sump pump. Now the sump pump is still working because, like I said, the siphoning, all these buckets are getting watered, almost all of them. Especially when I start putting the twisty. There are emitters that you can have. I'll show you the green ones. Anyway, there's another one that you can variable. You can show how much you want to spray, because right there in the front of the pump it will spray the most pressure, and that will leave none for the back. So you want to twist the valves of the first like 6 buckets and put variable control valves for the water that go into the injectors, so that you actually get water. Of course, you could mitigate this by getting a bigger pump than this guy, and that's a good thing. But we now have an operating system. So whenever it rains, just know that it's going to fill up this bucket, because it'll fill those buckets. And then I have an overflow in my tank. Also, you don't want to use the spa hot tub pH strips, because they have a different pH level and they're not going to go to the right amounts that you may want, like 6 or 7, very easily. Or the range is just going to be really low. So you want to make sure you just get regular, maybe aquarium strips or something like that, and just dunk them in your tank. So what's going to happen, you see the numbers are a little off. The fertilizer that I used from General Hydroponics is very acidic. So the second I pour in the 2 cups or whatever it's going to take to fill in this, it's going to drop down to 4, and then I'll use pH level up to adjust it. I want to get the parts per million to about 1,000, and the temperature I don't really care about, because it's just fine. And there you have it. I will start planting this weekend in these little guys, and I can grow pretty much anything from pumpkins. Now the pumpkins are going to go and clog the bucket's root system up, so That's not going to be too good, but your tomato should be okay, your pepper should be okay, your eggplant should be okay. Beans are fine. In fact, I plant beans in there with some of my other stuff. Let's see. You can pretty much grow any greens you want, even though I really wouldn't. That's a big waste of a bucket. You know, you can probably even grow corn. And I've grown potatoes in here. I had a really good thing where I stuck a seed potato or two in there, and I got potatoes. It was really fun. It actually made the bucket bulge when I harvested it, and it still tasted very good. They were russet potatoes, and they were, you know, good-sized potatoes. So, Miss Nosy, I hope you enjoyed this little specific topic item, but I can't resist to go into the greenhouse.